Hey, what's up everyone, I'm Praetorian, and in this video I'll be reviewing the Stellaris Apocalypse expansion. This review will only cover the paid features included in the expansion and will not consider any of the many fantastic additions of the 2.0 patch. Apocalypse is very much focused on the late game, so don't expect to experience many of its features early on. The major and probably most exciting features of the expansion are the Colossus Planet Killers and the Titan capital ships, both of which don't unlock until late game. The front page feature is of course the Colossi. You have to do a bit of work in order to construct one of these bad boys. First you have to get the Titan tech, and then you'll need to select the Colossus Project Ascension perk. This perk will unlock a project that you work on through the situation log. It's while researching this project that you'll select which World Devastator weapon you want to equip on your Colossus. There are 5 different types of weapons, but based on your Empire's ethics and such, you'll likely only have a couple options available to you. The Class I weapons range from planet crackers, which destroy whole planets, to neutron sweeps that only wipe out higher life forms, leaving an empty planet for you to colonize. Luckily, you're not locked into the first weapon that you choose, as the other World Devastators will unlock as text that you can research. However, you can only have one weapon on a Colossus at a time. The Colossi don't have any offensive weapons to defend themselves, so you'll need to use your fleet to protect them. Overall, I found the Colossi to be a really fun feature that opened up a lot of strategies, from avoiding having to invade heavily defended planets to simply wiping out all life so that I could start my own colony. They also deal substantial war exhaustion, so I found them to be a useful tool for forcing the surrender of my enemies. However, as cool as the Colossi are, they come so late in the game and require such a massive investment in time and resources that by the time you get them, you probably won't need them, as your fleet and army can likely easily handle any opposition, but they're still considerably entertaining to use. Now as for the Titans, they only require a tech, much like the other ship types. However, in order to construct them, you will need a special building in your starbase. Titans are essentially just the next size class of ship after battleships, but what makes them unique is that they have a powerful extra large weapon slot, and they can also select between one of several aura components that apply various buffs to your ships or debuffs to the enemy fleet. Titans are a fun little feature that allows you to add a bit more power and customization to your fleet. However, they're only meant to be a fleet's flagship, so you're limited in how many Titans you can build. Now, I'm not sure what the exact limit is or if it's influenced by naval capacity, but in my late game campaign, I was only ever able to build 2 of them. The third and final major feature of Apocalypse are the Marauders. Marauders are decentralized empires whose pops live on space stations and ships instead of planets. They don't go out and conquer other enemies, however they will attack and raid them. Before attacking you, they'll give you an option to pay them off to avoid it. There are several ways you can interact with Marauders. You can pay them to attack and raid one of your rivals. You can purchase a general or admiral from them, which will start with a special trait and some experience. You can also temporarily rent a mercenary fleet. The bigger the fleet, the more it'll cost. I found this to be incredibly useful even in the late game, because they don't count towards your naval capacity and they don't cost maintenance. So even if it's late enough in the game that the strongest mercenary fleet is too weak, it's still a useful method of increasing your fleet power when you're at max capacity. There is also a mid-game crisis where a Great Khan unites the Marauders into a horde. When this happens, the powerful horde will begin conquering their neighbors. This horde only lasts for as long as the Khan lives. Now, I can't really comment on this horde crisis much because in my review playthrough this event never happened. Overall though, I really like the Marauders and the new options that they provide. Apocalypse includes several minor features as well, including 2 new Ascension perks. Enigmatic engineering makes it so that your ships don't spawn debris when they're destroyed, ensuring that your tech can't be reverse engineered, and it also has a bonus to sensor range. Personally, I don't see this perk being as useful as some of the others, however it may be one that you want to take if you have a significant tech advantage over your enemies. Now the second perk included in this expansion, Nihilistic Acquisition, well that's a whole different story. Honestly, this may have been my favorite feature of the DLC. This perk allows you to use the raiding bombardment stance, essentially allows your ships to steal the pops off of the planet your fleet is bombarding. I found this to be an awesome way to get new slaves for the evil empire that I was playing as, and it allowed me to avoid conquering planets that I didn't want and would only have conquered for more Xeno pops. As a more aggressive xenophobic empire, you can't do migration treaties in order to get slaves and pops to use for colonization or whatever you may want them for. So I found this to be a really useful and fun feature that also didn't require me to be in the late game like many of Apocalypse's other features. My only real gripe with raiding is that I wish that I could select which planet the captured pops were sent to. Instead, I have to spend the energy to move them where I want later. Another minor feature are ion cannons. These are weapons that can be built as part of your starbase's defense platform network. They're very large weapons that allow your starbases to contend with some of the bigger ships in the game. So not a game-changing feature, but definitely a nice addition. Apocalypse will also grant access to Unity ambitions. You'll find these on your Policies and Edicts tab under the Edicts section. Ambitions allow you to spend your Unity to get a variety of useful bonuses, such as increased research speed, more resources, or even increased building speed for megastructures. It's a really great mechanic to give you something to spend your Unity on once you've gotten all the traditions. Ambitions have a very high Unity cost for something that's temporary, pretty much the same cost as a tradition, but they are also incredibly powerful. And unlike traditions, they don't increase the cost of Unity purchases. However, once again, this is a feature that you're likely to only use in the late game. There are several new civics included in the expansion. Post-Apocalyptic has you starting on a tomb world, but your species starts with the survivor trait. And with life seeded, you'll start on a size 25 Gaia world, but your species will have 0% habitability on all other types of planets. So both of these provide more challenge types of playthroughs. The last new civic is Barbaric Despoilers, which will grant you the ability to raid pops right from the start. However, it'll also lock you from several diplomatic options. And finally, Apocalypse includes 3 new songs. I personally really enjoy the new music, and it fits in well with the rest of the Stellaris soundtrack. So that's everything included in Apocalypse. Overall, I think it's a fantastic expansion. I like everything included. However, and this is the big one, almost everything in Apocalypse is for the late game. I personally don't often make it to the late game as I start to get bored with the campaign, so if you're like me, then you may not get access to Apocalypse's great features in the majority of your campaigns. You can of course increase text speed before you start the campaign though, so I don't think this is a deal breaker. In addition to being acquired late, most of the features also really only service a specific playstyle that won't apply for every campaign, so that's something to consider as well. The last thing that must be discussed is the price. Apocalypse is $19.99 in US dollars. That's quite expensive for an expansion of this size in my opinion. However, when it comes to value, this is always a very subjective matter, so I don't want to weigh in on it too much. If that's a price point that works for you, then I highly suggest you buy Apocalypse. The expansion's features are must-haves, and I wouldn't want to play into the late game without them now. If the price point is just a bit too high for you, then wait for the inevitable sell. I hope you found this review helpful and informative. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to my channel for more Stellaris content down the road.